I'm so happy to announce my new album, Happy Together. When my orchestra and I were finally able to get together.
Another heartbreaking wave has struck Hollywood as André Rieu's son reveals devastating news about the beloved maestro. For over 50 years, André, known as the King of the Waltz, has enchanted audiences around the world with his unforgettable music and charm. But after a string of cancelled shows, fans began to worry. Rumors about his health spread quickly, though nothing was confirmed until now. His son, visibly shaken, has finally broken the silence and confirmed the worst. What serious health battle is André Rieu facing? Could this mark the end of a legendary era in classical music? Stay with us as we uncover the emotional details behind André Rieu's tragic diagnosis and the heartfelt farewell from his son. A familiar battle returns. For decades, André Rieu has amazed his audiences worldwide with his grand performances and infectious passion for music. As the heart and soul behind the Johann Strauss Orchestra, his concerts are nothing short of magical, drawing fans across generations. However, behind the amazing performances, the Dutch violinist has also faced some serious health challenges, ones that nearly brought his career to a halt. Back in 2010, Rieu had reportedly never taken a single day off for illness. He even claimed he didn't suffer from jet lag, a remarkable feat for someone constantly traveling across continents. But that changed one night during a holiday in Belgium. Rieu is said to have been jolted awake at 3 a.m. by an overwhelming sensation of dizziness. He described that the room seemed to be spinning uncontrollably. At first, he didn't understand what was happening. The next morning, he reportedly felt broken. Leading up to that moment, Rieu had packed his schedule with work and stress. He had rushed to complete a DVD production, started taking intensive Spanish lessons to prepare for upcoming concerts in Mexico, and endured extreme heat all within days. Reflecting on this period, he supposedly admitted that he only operated in two modes, full throttle or complete stop. Though he had believed that happiness and mental strength could shield him from illness, the incident forced him to reconsider. Doctors later diagnosed him with a vestibular nerve infection, a condition that affects the inner ear and throws off the body's balance system. The condition, which can be triggered even by a common cold, left him feeling nauseous and dizzy whenever he tried to stand. Despite initially downplaying the seriousness, Rieu was eventually forced to cancel entire tours in Australia and the UK. The idea of taking 6 months off was unimaginable for him, not only because of his passion for performing but also because of the financial responsibility he carried for his large team. He had to undergo a brain scan to rule out more serious conditions like a brain tumor. Fortunately, nothing else was found. Still determined to recover, Rieu sought out various treatments, and even received suggestions from fans online. One fan in Australia reportedly sent a letter recommending specific balance training exercises, which Rieu practiced religiously. These included walking in figure eights, eye movements, and standing on one leg with his eyes closed. According to Rieu, the exercises worked wonders, and after 3 months he was feeling healthy again. His recovery journey also led to a major lifestyle change. He took his time to evaluate his commitments and discovered that many of his tasks outside music, like administrative work, business openings, and academic talks, were draining him. He reportedly wrote 2 lists, one with things he loved and one with things he didn't. Unsurprisingly, the first list was short and centered around music. The second was much longer, and he resolved to eliminate those stressors. Since then, he claimed to have placed his life around joy, passion, and well-being. Experts have pointed out that vestibular neuritis usually resolves within weeks, though a small percentage of cases can relapse. Rieu understood this risk and acknowledged that stress could trigger a recurrence. As a result, he made it his mission to work only on what he loves and protect his health moving forward. Now, years later, troubling news has resurfaced. His son recently revealed that Rieu is once again facing a serious health scare, raising alarm among fans and sparking painful memories of his past ordeal. Could this be another relapse or something even more serious? What exactly is André Rieu battling now? Worst fear realization. Everything had been perfectly planned. André Rieu and his orchestra had returned to Mexico after 6 long years and fans were thrilled. The excitement was real. The concerts were sold out, and the first 2 performances in Mexico City went well. But less than 24 hours after the second show, the worst happened. André suddenly fell ill. What many feared most was quickly confirmed. He had caught a strong flu, and it came with a high fever and total exhaustion. The tour couldn't go on. The rest of the concerts had to be cancelled. His son Pierre Rieu later shared the full story. He said that the long flight, the time difference, and the high altitude of Mexico City made things difficult from the start. André had just 1 day to rest before his first show, and that wasn't nearly enough. The combination of everything hit him hard and his body couldn't take it. What started as discomfort quickly turned into something much worse. Pierre admitted that it wasn't an easy decision, but when André became seriously sick, there was no other option. The team had to act fast and fly him home. For the fans, the news was heartbreaking. Many had waited years for this moment, and the concerts had been prepared down to the tiniest detail. But it wasn't just the audience who felt the loss. The whole crew was crushed. Pierre said everyone was disappointed, but health had to come first. The fear of something going wrong had always been there, but now it had become real. André stayed very ill for a few days, barely able to do anything. It was a worrying time. Eventually, he began to feel better, but it took nearly a week before he was himself again. Yeah, I think it's possible to have fun also in classical music. I think always why a guy like Mozart. Still, the scare was enough to change how the team looked at long-distance tours. Pierre explained that if they ever returned to Mexico, it wouldn't be before 2025. They would need more time to rest, more careful planning, and fewer risks. What made this incident even more serious was André's age. At 74, long flights and quick turnarounds are harder than ever. Pierre was honest. Traveling halfway across the world just isn't the same anymore. Trips to far places like Australia now seem almost impossible. He joked that people often compare André to younger performers or athletes, but pointed out that his father isn't 30 anymore. The body has limits, and ignoring them could lead to something worse. Backstage after his second concert, André had been in good spirits, smiling and enjoying the moment. But even then, he had quietly mentioned to his wife that he wasn't sure he could do this kind of tour again. His body had been sending signals, and this time it spoke louder than ever. The worst had been confirmed. Pushing through wasn't an option anymore. If he wanted to keep playing music, he had to start listening, to rest when needed and to slow down. Even as Rieu struggled with his own limits, the strain showed on his team too. Could the high altitude and tough conditions be wearing everyone out, a general strain? Rieu wasn't the only one affected. Performing at a high altitude of over 2,000 m was hard on everyone. There's simply less oxygen, and it takes a toll. Donna Alberti, one of the lead singers traveling with Rieu since January, said she could feel it during rehearsals. Her face flushed red and nosebleeds became common among the team. She laughed about it but admitted it was tough. During her song, "I Will Survive," she had to stop and drink water just to get through the performance. 0.00000. Pierre Rieu, André's son, explained how proud he was of his father, who knew when to say it was enough. Canceling the shows had been a difficult choice, but pushing through and collapsing on stage would have been far worse. André wasn't the only one hit by the decision. Around 40,000 fans had to be let down, and a crew of 125 people had to fly home early. The sudden change caused chaos. Refund was over the very next day. Even walking down the street, fans still asked for photos, not knowing it might have been their last chance to see Rieu perform in Mexico. The energy at the venue had been incredible. The area outside had turned into a market full of unofficial Rieu merchandise, from mugs and bears to t-shirts. Rieu had laughed about it then. During the concert, the crowd chanted his name. "I experienced that every night. And people write me, 'It took me 2 weeks to come down after your concert.' And even when he asked them to go home during encores, they shouted no until he played again. There had been no sign of what was coming. But in the end, It all came to a sudden stop. Back in Mustry, resting, André was focused on recovery. Pierre said he was hopeful for the next concert in Liverpool. But Mexico might have seen its final Rieu performance. His earlier words, "I just want to stay healthy so I can keep doing this," suddenly felt like a quiet warning of what was to come. Unfortunately, this wasn't the first time his crew would be affected by the stress of André's rigorous schedule. When was the very first time this happened? A heartbreaking loss. André Rieu had once admitted that stress could dangerously affect his health. Having battled a severe inner ear infection in the past caused by overwork, he promised to focus only on what he loved, music. For a while he seemed to be keeping that promise. But recent events have stirred new fears and drawn comparisons to a past scare that once rocked his fan base. Back in 2016, fans were left deeply concerned when Rieu suddenly cancelled several tour dates. The news had caused wild speculation, with many assuming that the beloved violinist was seriously ill again. Given his past health scare, it didn't seem impossible. Whispers about another relapse quickly spread. But it was later confirmed that the cancellations weren't because of Rieu's own health. Rather, one of his trusted orchestra members had passed away. The emotional weight of that loss had been too much to bear, and Rieu needed time to grieve. Still, the false rumors had already taken root. Now, nearly a decade after his own health breakdown, and years after that 2016 incident, something similar has happened again. Earlier today it was announced that Rieu's sold-out live concert at the Motor Point Arena in Nottingham, UK had been postponed. I'm very honored. You know, music has a healing power. The reason: a member of the Johann Strauss Orchestra had suffered a heart attack early that morning. According to a statement released by his production company, Rieu was devastated by the emergency and deeply saddened to cancel the show. The musician who fell ill remains in critical condition in hospital, and fans were asked for patience and understanding during this difficult time. A new date for the show will be announced once the situation is more stable. Though the cancellation wasn't due to Rieu's personal health, many fans were quick to worry. Given his history, some began speculating whether the pressure and emotional weight of such a shocking event could trigger another health issue for the world-renowned maestro. After all, the Johann Strauss Orchestra isn't just a group of musicians to Rieu. It's his family on the road. This moment is especially haunting for longtime fans who remember how quickly concern turned to panic during the 2016 tour. With a series of health scares, André has come to a decision that stems from a deep realization. What decision has he made? André Rieu slows the tempo. After performing just 2 shows in Mexico, André had to cancel the rest of his concerts and fly home to Mustry because of the sudden illness. It was a major decision that made him realize he might need to slow down, even though he's not ready to do so. He admitted he still wished he could perform at full speed until the grave. But this time everything became too much. He returned to his home where he lives with his wife Marjorie, and it quickly became clear that trying to make up for the cancelled concerts wasn't an option. Rieu doesn't like to talk about these things himself. That job usually falls to his son and spokesperson Pierre. According to Pierre, several things contributed to his father's health, including the fact that the National Auditorium where Rieu performed sits about 2.5 kilometers above sea level, and it took a toll on his body. On top of that, Rieu caught a severe flu which made everything harder. And when we play Mexico with Mexico but your mate, you should think. Even though Rieu has always taken good care of his health through regular exercise, tennis, jogging and healthy meals, he still has to face the reality of age. He's proud of his stamina. But this time he found himself unable to carry on. His legs were shaking and he feared collapsing during the shows. That fear led to the decision to cancel the tour, a rare move for him. Pierre shared that André had often performed while sick in the past, even with a fever. But this situation was different. It was simply too much. Though Rieu is now fully recovered, the illness forced the cancellation of 4 concerts, leaving tens of thousands of fans disappointed. Ticket holders will receive refunds, but no new dates are being planned. Rieu reportedly told his team he didn't want to put himself through that kind of torture again. Traveling to faraway places like Mexico or Australia is no longer guaranteed. The long flights and time changes are draining, while concerts in Chile, Argentina, and Colombia are still planned for later in the year. His team is now thinking more carefully about which trips are worth the risk. From now on, they'll take things 1 year at a time. Although they may avoid long-distance tours, fans from faraway places are still welcome in Maastricht, where Rieu hosts his famous summer concerts at Friedhof Square. According to many, those concerts have the best atmosphere of any he does. He admitted it's hard to imagine giving up performing around the world. His passion for music is just too strong. During his illness, he realized how much he needed his work. Not being able to perform made him feel restless. He said staying home made him feel even crazier. To protect his health, Rieu and his team decided to cut back on non-essential activities, fewer interviews, presentations, and press events. He explained that when his schedule gets too full, one of his balance organs starts acting up, causes the room to spin and makes it impossible for him to go on stage. It's something he's been dealing with for the past 20 years and it hasn't gone away. Still, by being more careful with his time and energy, André Rieu hopes to keep doing what he loves for as long as he can, just maybe a little more slowly than before and focusing on the things that matter. What are the things André holds in high esteem? Not only about me. Well, yes, I mean you're here to ask, but the things that matter? In an interview from his castle in Maastricht, André Rieu was said to have declared that he still had too much to experience in life to spend his days merely sailing on a cruise ship. In his conversation with The Standard, Rieu revealed that he and his family took a modest 3-day break in Rome each year. But beyond that, his schedule was entirely devoted to music. He never took a prolonged break or retired. It's not just one orchestra. It's my orchestra and I built it. It's my life work, And that wasn't going to change. The interview went on to mention Rieu jokingly commented that he was only halfway through his life, given his ambitious plan to live until 140. Despite his age, his mind was brimming with ideas for future tours, with suggestions on how to outdo his current tour already forming. However, the realization that he had to take things slowly already hit hard. Despite his enthusiasm, André confessed to having trouble sleeping after concerts, which was really dangerous for his health. Recollections were shared of the tough moments during the COVID lockdown, which he described as nothing short of torture. In search of solace during those restless nights, he reportedly took up baking, one of his hobbies aside from performing. It's of course a great honor to be here in this, I think, the most beautiful hall in the whole world. He confessed that he found comfort in watching baking tutorials on his iPhone and that his newfound hobby quickly became a favorite pastime, with his culinary creations frequently appearing on social media and even earning him a guest spot on the Dutch version of the Great British Bake Off, known as Heel Hollandbakt. Although some had playfully speculated that he might consider a career in baking, Rieu was said to have firmly dismissed such notions, emphasizing that his heart lay with music. He was quoted through his spokesperson as saying that while he enjoyed his time in the kitchen, nothing could replace his passion for making music. Ultimately, it was reported that this unyielding love for performance had driven him to continue entertaining audiences and evolving as an artist. No matter the challenges he had faced or might face in the future, I only play that music that touches my heart. What is André Rieu's current health status? Is this the end of these performances in Australia and countries far away from Maastricht? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.